Hello everyone, welcome to Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. We are here with part 4 of Salesforce Lightning Flows workshop. A very quick introduction about me. My name is Khyati Mehta. I lead Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. I'm a proud champion. I was recently featured on Salesforce blog for my outreach work. I have led many initiatives in India, such as helping underprivileged children with Salesforce and helping special students with Salesforce. Professionally, I work as a Salesforce developer at Cognizant Technology Solutions. I love everything about community, hence, I'm a community speaker, a trailhead mentor. I also have my blog named as All About Salesforce and a podcast that I run in India named Salesforce of Bits with Khyati. We are running certain contests for this workshop. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. All you need to do is post anything that you like about the workshop, your likes or dislikes, or key takeaways from the workshop. And don't forget to tag with Kolkata, Salesforce admins, myself, Khyatu07, and the speaker for the day, Eric Prod. His credentials are Eric Prod underscore P. And also use hashtags with Kolkata and with flows. You can post anything that you like about the workshop and today's session over LinkedIn and Twitter, and a winner will be chosen at the end of the day. So the agenda of the workshop is we usually have a lot of materials available over YouTube and everywhere regarding flows. But what makes this workshop stand out is that we had the workshop full of demos, and we less believe in slides. So I tried to accumulate all the speakers and tried to have as many as demos as possible. And I also kept 2 days of use cases. So today is the first day for it. So it is a 5-day workshop that will include topics about flows with detailed demos wherever applicable, and we have the gurus of flows to cover the exercises and offer their guidance. So we have Eric Prod with us. He is a Salesforce MVP. He's working as a senior consultant at PulseSource. He is also very actively working in Answer Leader, and he is ATEX Salesforce certified. Over to you, Eric.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening to most of you. And thanks for joining. So, as Kathy said, we are doing some real life scenarios today. So, without further ado, let me just share my screen. Share, sorry. And let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So, today we've got 4 flows that I really want to see, and if time permits, there's another couple of flows. First one will be to wish contacts a happy birthday, obviously on their birthday. Then we'll see how to replace a simple workflow rule with a flow. Then here's one that I think a lot of you will see in your career. It's creating a roll-up summary with a lookup relationship. And then we'll see something like I create a little app to to ask for time off and all, and then we can see it properly on a dashboard and in a report, per day, who's absent, how many people are not working. And then if time permits, we'll have a couple other flows. So update the contacts region according to their country, and then update all contact phone numbers with the account phone. So let's start with wishing contacts a happy birthday. For this, we'll use a scheduled flow that will run every day. We need to create a birthday formula, and I'll show you that. A text template for the body of the email. We'll use a decision to know if it's the contact's birthday or not. And then we'll see how to send an email with the email action. Gotchas. For example, when we set a time for the scheduled flow, pardon me, the start time is your org's default time zone. So, for example, I'm in the GMT time zone. My org is in GMT, so it will, if I say send it at midnight, it will send it at midnight my time. But if the org's default time zone was, I don't know, in, let's say, New York, it's 4 or 5 hours ahead, before us, then I would have to be aware of this. And then a couple of things: when you try to send an email, the default user needs to be populated, and the automated process user email address also needs to be populated with an org-wide address. So make sure you've got all this set up before you start. All right, so as you can see, here are my contacts with birthdays this month. There's only one with my name, whose birthday is today. So let's create this flow. As I said, we'll need to create a scheduled flow. So I just go to flows, into setup, and of course we're live, so my computer has decided to be slow. It's just typical. So new flow, and we'll go, as I said, with a scheduled triggered flow. I'll go with freeform. I'm personally not a big fan of auto layout, but whatever rocks your boat. I just prefer freeform. So first we set a schedule. We can set the start date to today, and the start time, it's every 15 minutes. So as you can see on my side, it's 25 to 12. So we'll try to make it run at quarter to 12. As I said, my quarter to 12, there we go. My time zone, my org's time zone is GMT, is the same as this one here. And for the frequency, well, I want to check every day if somebody has their birthday, so I can send them their email. So I will choose daily. Then I need to choose the object, and we'll go with the contacts object. And then I'll set a couple of conditions so that it doesn't trigger for everybody. So first, I want to make sure that we've got an email address for this person. So I'll go with email is null false, which means that the email is populated. I also want to make sure that the email has never bounced. So is email bounced equals to false. Okay. Then we're going to create the decision. But before that, I need to create a formula. So the manager, new resource, and I select formula. The API name, you can choose one. I'll just call it birthday form. And I've got it ready. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. Oh, sorry. First, I need a data type. So I'm going to create a Boolean. So a true or false result. And here's my formula. So I go with the record birth date, and I add some months to it. So I go 12 for a year, and I multiply the 12 by the difference between the birthday and today, being the flow current date. And so if this is equal to the date of today, then think of it as a checkbox. The checkbox will be selected. So now we can create the decision. Because I went with free form, I need to click on elements here. Decision, there we go. I'm going to call it, is it their birthday? And then two outcomes, one to say yes, and the other one, the default outcome. I will change the name just so it's easier for me to understand. I'll just call it no. I go back to the yes outcome, and I go with my birthday formula equals to true. You remember it's a Boolean, it's like a checkbox. So if today is their birthday, then we need to send them an email. So to create an email, there's a few ways, but to me, what I prefer is to create a text template for the body. So for this, you create a new resource, go to text template. I'm going to call it, I don't know, happy birthday body, for example. And here, I'm just going to answer there, to write, pardon me, the body of my email. So I've got one already ready. And this is how you add a merge field in order to get this variable. So the record that triggered the flow, which is the contact, and then their first name. If I want to, I don't know, for example, add the last name, then I could just click here, insert a resource, scroll down, you see $record, and it even says contact here, and there's an arrow. When you see the arrow pointing right, you know that you can get more variables or more fields here. And then I can just scroll down to my last name, if I find it. There we go. So here we have, so for me, it would be, Dear Eric Prod, we want to take the time to wish you a happy birthday and thank you for your. And assign just me because everybody knows me, of course. So once we've got this, now we can just add an email action. So I just added an action for my elements. And in the action, I can just type email. And I will use this send email. That means that I will create the email alert straight from within the flow. So send email. I have to give it a label, so I'm just going to call it birthday email. Then the body of the email, I'm going to use the text template that I used. A subject, you can type it. You can use, you can also use variables if you want. But here, I'm just going to say happy birthday. Then I need to send it to the contact's email address. So I'm going to go with this one. It's not a collection, it's just one email address. So I'm going to say include the email address. And in my resource here, I'm going to go to the record and email. And because I used a text template, but I say view as rich text, I'm going to say, yes, I want to see it as rich text. This will allow you to have, bold letters, italic letters, and so on the line. So here, I just say global constant true. Yes, I want a rich text formatted body. Click on done. And now I just need to connect everything. So I connect my start element to my decision to my birthday email. And here it's asking me, which outcome do I want? I want to say, yes, today is the birthday, hence I want to send the email. If no, well, nothing happens. So it's fine, the flow will stop right here. And now I can just, that's it. That's all there is to do. So I simply have to save my flow, give it a name. So I'm going to go with birthday email underscore schedule. And it's always good to have a description. We'll send a birthday email to contacts on their birthday. I save, and then I activate. So that was a bit close, but we're 1 minute away from receiving this email. So hopefully the minute will happen right now, and I will be able to show you the email that I receive. Okay, I think this is a very simple flow, but that a lot of companies actually ask for. Send emails, send birthday emails. They can also send them to their leads, in which case you will need to create another flow and change the object to leads. Also, here I said to send it at 11:45, like 15 minutes before noon. I probably would send it to a different time. It's just here for demo purposes. Okay. And here, I just received the email. Let me just show it on the screen here. There is, you see, Dear Eric Prod, which is the first name and last name of the contact. We wanted to take the time to wish you a happy birthday. Okay, I think this one was very simple. So let's go for one that's slightly harder, very just slightly harder. As I said, nothing big, don't worry. Okay, so we want to replace a workflow rule with a flow. We know that workflow rules are going to be deprecated in a couple of years, so we have to make the changes now. Like now is the good time to do it. Some of you may have seen, some of you may have a pre-release org, and you may have seen it on LinkedIn and maybe Twitter, that Salesforce is releasing a beta version of some functionality that will uh, change your workflows into flows. I have not tested it myself, so I don't know if there's any caveats. I mean, it's just in beta stage. So let me show you how I would do, um, how I would, pardon me, replace a workflow rule with a flow manually. A couple of things here. So I will need an after save flow, and I'll explain the difference between after save and before save. Um, oh, actually, I've got, yes, sorry, pardon me. I'm going to do an after save flow and a subflow, a decision and get record to retrieve the record that, pardon me, I'm losing it. Get record to retrieve the record that triggered the flows. Okay. So let me show you. Here I have a simple workflow that triggers on opportunity when the amount is greater than 10,000. And at that time, it creates a task called customer um, with a due date of 3 days after the task is created. It sends an email alert and it just checks a checkbox. Okay, I've deactivated it because, well, I just didn't want it to trigger during my test. I wanted my flows to trigger. So I'm going to create another flow here. Um, sorry, bear with me 1 second. Pardon me. So as I said before, I'm going to call a subflow from my record triggered flow. When that happens, you need to create your subflow before the record triggered flow. Okay. So let's close those tabs and let's create a new flow. So subflows are auto-launched flows. So I'm going to select this and go with freeform as before. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is to create a variable for my opportunity ID. Remember, the workflow was on opportunities. So I'm going to create a new resource, and this time I'll choose variable. I'll call it op ID, and the data type is of text. I'm not going to set any default value, and I'm going to make it available for input or output. Realistically, it doesn't really matter if you select both. You see quite often if you Google a solution, sometimes you only make it available for input and or output. I always do both because like that, I don't have any problem. So I'll just click on done here. And now I've got the opportunity ID. I've got a variable where I can hold my opportunity ID. Okay. Now I can then first add an element, a get record, where I will get this opportunity. I will get the current opportunity, which is what I'm going to call this get record. Get current opportunity. So the object obviously is opportunity. I'm going to add one filter to say just get the one that triggered the flow. So I want to find the ones where their ID, so the opportunity ID, is equals to the variable I just created. And we will see this variable, we will enter the actual opportunity ID from the record triggered flow that I'd create straight after this subflow. So ID equals my variable. I only want to get the first record, and I'm just going to store every single field here. Okay. So now what do I want to do once I've got my opportunity? Well, the three actions of the workflow. There's a field update, an email alert, and a task. So first, we're going to do the field update. So I'm going to use an update record. Okay. I'm going to call it update opportunity. And I'm going to specify the condition to identify the record. The object I want to update is the opportunity. And again, we want where the ID is equal to. So here, two choices. Either we can go back with the text, or we can go with the get record that I used earlier on and find the ID here. Because you remember I said select all fields. So I've got all the fields from opportunities here. And now set the field values. That's when I'm doing my my field update. So the field that I'm looking for is called over 10K. It's just a checkbox. And I'm going to set it to true. So I'm going to use the global constant variable. Bear in mind that this update record could have been done in a before save flow to be maybe slightly better, slightly more efficient. However, what I want is to have everything, to have my one workflow in one flow. Therefore, I'm doing everything in the subflow that will be called from an after save flow. Now we're going to create the task. So to create the task, I just use a create record element. I'll add it to the canvas. I'll call it create task. Only want to create one task. And I'm going to select use separate resources and literal values because I want to specify the object. And here I want to create a task. So when you create a task, there are a few fields to enter. First one is the activity date. So for the activity date, we will need a formula. Remember, the due date was 3 days after the flow, after the workflow had triggered. So we want to do the same. We want to add 3 days to today's date. So I just go into value, click on new resource. We say we want a formula, and I'll call it due date formula, not formula. The data type is a date. And all I want is, if I go into my variable, if I go into my insert a resource field, I can go to flow here. And current date is the same as today, +3. Okay. So now we'll add more fields. So we want to set a reminder. So is reminder set, we'll set it to true. Owner ID, we'll set it to the ID, to the owner of the opportunity. So I'll go with the opportunity from get current opportunity. And that is why I used the get record early on to get all the fields I could from the specific opportunity. And we want the owner ID. There's another field called priority that I want to set. I'll set it to normal. Now you see when you choose a pick list here in the field, you've got the values here. I'll set it to normal. For the reminder, I forgot something. I actually forgot the reminder date time. So for the reminder date time, I also need a formula. So I just click on this in this box, new resource, formula. I'm going to call it reminder date time formula. The data type is a date time. And this is my formula. So I'm taking the due date formula that I had before, which is the um, the time the flow will trigger plus 3 days, and here with the daytime value and plus 824, it will this reminder will show at 8 a.m. GMT. Bear in mind that 824, 8 over 24 is in GMT. I still have a few more fields. A task, there's quite a few fields that are set when you do workflow. So another one is the status. My status is not started. You see, it was a pick list, so I've got all the pick list values here. So not started. My subject. So subject was call customer. And then one thing that I cannot forget is the what ID, the related to ID. I need to make sure that this task is related to my opportunity. So when I go on the opportunity page, I can then see the task there. So then I can just use my opportunity ID here. And that's it. I've got all the same fields as in a task in a workflow. One last thing I had with the workflow was an email alert. So remember early on to send an email from a flow, we used an action, and we're going to do the same. We'll use an action. We'll say, I'll type email, but this time I'm going to use the first one. Email owner opportunity is over 10K. This is actually the email alert that I had in my workflow. It works. That's what I want to use again. So why would I choose send email and have to type everything again? I don't want to. So I'm a lazy guy, so I'll just use what's already there, what's already working. So I selected it. I give it a label. Okay, I could just call it send a 10K email, for example. And here it's asking you for the record ID. What do you remember? This op ID that we have created before. And now I just need to link everything together. So from start to the get record, from get record to my update opportunity, update to create task, and create task to my email alert. Now I can save this flow. I don't know. I'm going to actually give it a very generic name, Subflow opportunity. And this subflow pulled from a record triggered flow, triggered 2Gs, the flow, and will. So check the over 10K box, create a reminder task, and send an email. Always add a description, as it will help you in the future, because flows can be, if they're big, can be a bit tricky to debug. So please use a description as much as you can. I'll save it, and you need it to be activated in order to be able to call this subflow from a record triggered flow. That is why you need to create your subflow first, pardon. So I'll just activate it. Okay. Now I'm going to create a new flow. I'm going to now create my record triggered flow. So new flow, record triggered flow, and freeform again. So my object is opportunity. I just want it when a record is created, which is I think what my workflow was. I mean, obviously you depends on your workflow. It could be created, just updated, or created or updated. I'll just go with creation here. I will not set any conditions here, and I'll use actions and related records. So you'll hear me talk about before save flow and after save flow. Before save flow is a fast field updates flow, and after save flow is the same as an actions and related records flow. The wording has changed recently enough, and it's because I think it was some people were not too sure what a before and an after trigger were. So I have everything here. Now I don't want to call my subflow every time. I only want to call it when my opportunity is over 10K. And since I'm calling a subflow, I'm going to create a decision, which is, I'll call it over 10K, and my label will be over, and I'll change the default outcome to under, back to over, and I just go when the record, so the opportunity amount is greater than, where are you? There we go, 10,000, so 10K, 10. If so, then call a subflow. This is where you have your subflow here. And now only activated subflows, you can only search on activated subflows here. I've activated my subflow before, which is subflow opportunity. I give it a name, so call opportunity subflow, for example. And here you see, I want to input my opportunity ID because my opportunity has triggered the flow. This record triggered flow has the opportunity there. So I'm going to include it, so to send it over to my subflow. And my opportunity ID is $record, so the opportunity triggering the flow, and ID. And done. I just need now to link everything. So with the outcome of over, that's perfect. I'm going to save this. So for me, I'm using this record triggered flow a bit like a trigger. So it will trigger, then it will go to decisions and say which subflow to to fire, to trigger. So I'm going to give it a very generic name. I'm going to call it after save opportunity. This flow will trigger subflows. So here you see, I said this flow will trigger subflows, and I say one, it will trigger the over 10K subflow. For me, this will be used in the future. So when, if I've got another subflow I want to trigger, then I'll go two and whatever. Okay. So here I've got only one. I save and I activate it. So now let's try this. I'm going to an opportunity. Well, I'm going to create a new opportunity with an amount over 10K. Close date, stage, opportunity name, test 10K, workflow. My account, I guess edge communication, doesn't really matter. I think I've got everything I need here. And you see, this is the checkbox, the over 10K checkbox. I just wanted to show you here on the page layout. Um, so I'm going to save it, go onto this opportunity, go into the details. We can see my checkbox is checked. I forgot to add the tasks on this. Oh no, it's here. Pardon me. Activities. We can see the call customer activity with a reminder, and we can see that it's set in 3 days, 15th of December, and today we're on the 12th. I just want to see, yes, and I received the email right here. Okay. Is everything okay so far? Is there any question, Kathy?
We do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Uh,
You want to
yeah, the first one is can I use classic or lightning email template in rich text variable element?
in the text template?
Yes.
So I personally have never tried it. I doubt it because you would need to you you have to type you have to type something here. So I don't see how you could actually use a Lightning template here.
The next question is what is the use of text and email action?
So okay, okay. When you so let's go back to this text template. You see, when I create a text template, I could go like this. So I can select some of my text in bold, some of my text in italic, for example. I could also underline some text, okay, and italic. Right. If I do not enable send as rich text template, then this will not be bold or in italic or underline. I mean, all my formatting basically will be lost. If I enable it, then the formatting will be kept in the email template, in the email message.
Perfect. The next question is what is the difference if I create the task with the action element instead of the create records element?
Sorry, can you repeat this?
Sure. What is the difference if I create the task with the action element instead of the create records element?
Um, you know what? I don't think there's much difference here. The only thing is this action element here is, I mean, you see, so it's your quick action. So you could, I guess, just, you see, for example, what I don't like here is that you cannot set every field, as in, it's only the fields that are in your quick action. So for example, here I cannot set when the reminder is. Okay, there's no date time to set. It's a reminder. So I personally prefer the create record just because I can really set each field as I want.
Right. Okay, so we'll take the other questions after your session ends. Right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so we already saw two flows. That's very good. Um, Now we're going to create a few record triggered flows for roll-up summary. So creating a roll-up summary with a lookup relationship. Here we're going to do a very simple one. We're going to count the number of contacts per account. So first thing first, you will need to create a number field on account that you would update with the flows. You need then three flows. You need an after save flow on contact, an on delete flow on contact, and a schedule flow on account for the existing records. So as most of you know, when you create a record triggered flow, it only triggers when you either create or update a, a record, or delete as well a record. But existing records will not be updated unless you do a big update with your data loader. And that's a possibility. I'm a big fan of automations, so we will create a schedule flow on the accounts that will go through every single account and update the count of contacts just once. And I'll show you all this, obviously. Um, a few gotchas, and I'll show you as I create the flows. Remember to cater for changes of accounts. So a contact, it could be a user mistake. You create a contact from an account, but then you go, oh, it's the wrong account. So you change the account. You've got to make sure then that the counter on the now old account and the new account is changed. Don't forget the on delete flow, so that if you end up deleting a contact for whatever reason, again, it could be a user error. They created a contact they didn't need, they delete it. We need to make sure the counter goes down by 1. Remember that the on delete flows run before save, and you'll see why I'm saying that when I create the flow. And there, what I was talking about, for existing records, they need to be either updated manually or with a scheduled flow, which is what we're going to do. So give me a second, just ready on my side. Right. Here, first I want to show you on accounts. Does not matter which account I go to. We should have the number. Yeah, there we go. It's here. Number of contacts is here. It's not populated on any account. So actually, the easiest is probably if I create a very quick report. Accounts and contacts. I should have created it before. It's fine. Actually, just on accounts and contacts. There we go. And we're just going to go with just contact and the account name. Everything else can go, and the number of contacts. And we'll group it by account name, all account, all time, and run. Okay, so we can see number of contacts is set to 0 because, well, we haven't created the flows yet. So let's create the flows. So the first one I'm going to create, let's see, is the main one. So it's a record triggered flow here. And we will go with the contact object. We want it when a record is created or updated. We cannot, unfortunately, give any conditions, so we need it to trigger every time. And we need an actions and related records here. Okay, so after save flow. All right. I'll first start with 2 variables that I'm going to create, 2 number variables. Sorry, so my first one will be called contact counter current. It's a number variable, as I said, with 0 decimal, because it's always an integer, and the default value is of 0. You can type, you don't need to enter a variable here. Again, I'm going to do available for both input and output. Then I'm going to do a very similar one, but for prior, and I'll explain why. Okay, so another variable, context counter prior instead of context counter current. Again, it's a number. We don't want any decimal, and the default value will be of 0. Okay. So Now, since we do not have any entry criteria, any entry condition, we're going to add a decision to make sure it doesn't trigger, like, it will trigger all the time, but to make sure nothing happens if there's no need. Okay, maybe there's already a contact, it's already been counted, you're just updating the contact. I don't know, you're updating their phone number. We don't need any more. We don't need to change the counter, sorry, on the account. So first, we're going to check if the account was changed. Okay, so was account changed? And we'll say that yes, it was changed here. Changed. Oh, sorry, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible typist. And the default outcome, I like to change it always. So to something meaningful, account not changed. Back to my first outcome, account changed. We say if the record, which is contact, account ID, so if the account on the contact is changed to true. Okay, has it changed? So let's go first if it has changed. Then what we need to know how many contacts were in the prior account. So for that, we go with a get record. I'll call it get contacts for prior account. So because I've changed now, I need to basically have a count of the number of contacts that remain in the account that I changed it from. So my object is contact, and my condition is account ID is equal to, this time we're going to use this record prior, so the prior value of a field on the contact that triggers the flow. So record prior account ID. Okay, so I say give me all the contacts where the account is the same as the one of the contact that triggers the flow, as the one that that is changed from. Okay, I want to know all records, and this I just leave it at automatically store all fields. And now I'm going to use an assignment. I'm going to set the prior counter, and I'll go with my variable, the prior counter, contacts prior, counter prior. And here there's a very nifty operator called equals count. So just gives me the amount of contacts from, pardon me, from my get contacts from prior account. Okay, so I'm saying set this variable to the count of the amount of contacts that were in this get contacts that we did just before. And now all I need will be to update the prior account with this new counter. So we say update prior account, that's the label I'm going to give it. I'm going to specify the conditions to identify the records, just so I can choose the object, because the object triggering the flow is contact. I need another object, which is account. That is where I've got my counter, the field. We want to make sure it's the account where the ID is equal to, remember, we're going to reuse this records prior, so the prior value of the account on the contact that triggers the flow. And now I just need to find my field, which is number of contacts, and the value will be my my variable contacts contacts counter prior. So now this is just in case there is a change of account. So let me link those already. So start to my decision to the get record for when the account is changed. Now my get record to my assignment and my assignment to my update record. But what if the account hasn't changed, or even if it has, now I need to add one to the account that that this contact is assigned to. So we're going to first add another get record to get the number of contacts in this account. So the object is contact. So sorry, my filter here is the account ID is equal to, now we're not using the record prior, we're using the current record. So the current account ID on the record. We want again to get all records because we want to get a count. I click on done. And then it's pretty much the same as the rest. We are going to set the counter through an assignment. So set current counter. The variable is the, where is it? There we go. Contact counter current, not prior, equals count of contacts from get contacts, which is the one we created just now. Okay. And now we just need to update the current account. So update current account. Again, I need to specify the object, so I need to use this this option. Pardon me. The object is account. We just want to update one account, just the one where the ID is the same as, oh, sorry, as the account on the triggering contact. And then we just set the number to this variable, the current contact counter. So now I will link my decision, my other outcome, which was the default outcome, to this get record. But I will also link this last update records where we're updating the prior account, because we still want, even if the prior account was updated, we also want to update the current account. And now I just need to link everything together. This is the main flow. I'm going to save it and activate it. So I'm going to call it contract rollup. This will add and subtract number. I just add the number of contacts onto the account. And I'll activate. Okay. Now you remember we needed to create 3 flows. We just created one. The next one we need to create is the one on delete. So again, it's a record triggered flow that we need. I'll go with freeform. And my object is contact. And I will choose trigger the flow when a record is deleted. Okay. I will not set any entry condition. There's nothing that I can set here that will work. Now the flow, you see, if you choose to trigger when the record is deleted, you do not have a choice between before or after save. And here it's a before save by default. Okay. So first, I'm going to create a new resource, my contact counter, pardon. So it's a variable. We call it contacts counter. It's a number, which is it doesn't need any decimal. I'll set it to 0 as a default. Okay. Now it's very similar to the one we did before, just not as many elements. So first, I'm going to get records, get the contacts. Okay. Get the contacts. So therefore, my object is contact, and here I want this. I want to get the count of all the contacts that are related to the same account as my contact that triggered the flow, even though it was deleted. So we could just go with account ID is equals to my contact record, account ID. I want to get all the records, and this we don't need to touch. Then again, very similar. We're now assigning the contacts counter. Now there's a little trick here. So first, let me just give it a name, set the counter. So first, we need to say that the contacts counter, the variable, is equal to the count of the get record, the get contacts. However, here's where the fact that it's before save is very important. If I just leave it like this, it actually won't make any changes. It will just give me the count of the contacts. So I need to subtract 1. And this only happens with the delete one. So contacts counter, subtract 1. Okay. It's a bit of a tricky one. I'm still, in a way, I may not need this first line unless it's the very first contact that's created against an account. So you will need both lines here. So first you get the full count. So this full count even counts the contact that was deleted, and then I'm subtracting 1 to remove that contact count. Okay. And now all I need is to update the account. So I'll add an update record, which is update account. And I don't want to update the contact that triggered the flow. So anyway, that would be a bit stupid since it's being deleted. So I need to go with specify conditions to identify records, and I select account as the object. So we want only the account where the ID is equal to this contact account ID. And we set number of contacts to the contacts counter. And that's my flow on delete. I just link everything together. And we're going to save it. So I'm going to call it contact rollup delete. This will subtract 1 to the number of contact field on accounts whenever a contact is deleted. And I activate. One last flow. And so this last flow, you don't need to do it. You could update the old records, the existing records, maybe with a with the data loader, but I'm very lazy, so I'll find it easier to create a scheduled flow. So we'll say today, and start time, well, it have to be in 15 minutes, unfortunately. And we do it only once, because now every new contact will trigger the other flows. So we just do it once for the existing records. I choose the object. I'm going to go with the account. Know that you could do it with the contacts as well, but it's easier if I go with the account. No conditions. And what I'll do, I'm going to now add a get record to get all my contacts. Okay, get all, oh, sorry, get the related contacts. So I'm going for the contact object where the account ID is equal to my record that triggered the flow ID. I want to get all records, and that's it. Now I'm going to set the counter, which I forgot to create first. Sorry. I first need to create a number variable, the same counter as before. We'll call it just contact count. It's a number. 0 decimals, starts with 0. So back to my elements. Now I've created this variable. Create my assignment call it set counter. My variable contact count is equals to the count of my get record. And then I know you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to update the account now. So this time is the account that triggered the flow. So I'm going to use this variable, this selection, pardon me, use the account $record global variable. I don't need any filter condition. And I'm just going to say, well, number of contacts is equal to the contact count. So remember, this one flow is not necessary, but it will make your life very easy. It's just, you see, just 3 elements instead of like trying to, play with the IDs in a CSV file and then use a data loader or Workbench or whichever to update the existing records. So I'm going to save it and activate it. We'll update the number of contacts on accounts for existing records. Oh, it has a time in the past. Sorry. So 12:45, I should have said. There we go. I'm saving. There, I don't have any error anymore. You see, my error was just because my frequency is set to once, but it was supposed to run in the past, which obviously is not possible. And now I activate. So let me just go to an account here. So for example, here I've got 2 contacts. Let me just edit one of the contacts here. So we're going to give it a phone 3 and save. And you can see now number of contacts has gone up to 2 for only for this account. The other ones I will need to edit the contact or add a new contact. However, in 10 minutes, it will the flow will the schedule flow, pardon me, will trigger also, and will update the rest. Um, right, Kiathi, are we on time or do we have time for more?
Yes, we are on time. I think we can cover one more.
We can cover one more.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Um, right, so let's do one more then, which is see all absentees per day. So we'll see like a couple of objects. I'll show you all this as we go, and the gotchas I'll explain also what they are. Okay. So just one thing here, I've created this object here, which is leave requests. Okay, where you can just, as an employee, you could, oh, okay, you could go there and say, well, I want holidays from Monday to Friday next week, for example. Okay, very simple object. Okay, and that's it. And you can create many. Now, the issue here, as a manager, if I were to report on this, it's a bit hard to see who's off and who's not on a specific date because I've got a date range, but I'd like to see some graph, with every date and to see how many people are absent that day. So I'm just going to delete this because I want to first create the flows for that. So what I've done, I've created another object called leave breakdown, which will create one record per day that you've requested a leave. So for example, here I was asking for 5 days holidays. It would have created um, five leave breakdown records. Okay. So in order to do that, um, I would need again a flow. Good thing we're doing flows today, hey? So, mm, sorry, I just setting some things on the side. Sorry about that. Right, so we are going to create a record triggered flow on the subject leave request. When a record is created or updated, all right, and I'm not going to give it any conditions, and I will use my actions and related records. Okay. Um, right. So first things first, we have two things to worry about. If there's an edit, I don't know, again, I could make a mistake in my dates. If there's an edit, we will need to see if there's any breakdown record that exists. And then the easiest here is just to delete them all and recreate new ones, which is what we're going to do here. So first, we are going to check if there's any of those existing breakdowns. So we use a get record breakdown with an E, it's better. And so we're looking for the subject, leave breakdown, which you didn't see when I was creating a leave request. So a leave breakdown has a lookup to the leave request. So we say where the leave request is the leave request that started the flow, pardon me. So dollar record ID, and I want to get all the records, and I don't really care about this to be fair. So I'm not changing it. After get record, that's something you need to know. It's always good, if not necessary, most of the time, to add a decision to see if we could retrieve anything. If there was nothing, then we may not need to do anything. But if there was something we want to delete, for example, you need to do this null check, or um, you may get an error that the get record couldn't find any record. So we're going to see if one exists or one does not exist. Okay, so to see if any exist, you go with the record collection. The get existing breakdowns is null, false. Okay. So if there are some, then we said we want to delete them all and then start again. So we're using a delete record, and we'll just call it delete breakdowns. I want to use the IDs stored in my record variable because my record variable is the get record. So that's all I need to do. This will delete all the records I found here. Okay. So if there are some existing breakdowns, then I want to delete them. Now, if there's no existing breakdown, or even if there were, now I want to create the ones that do exist. So for this, we will need a couple of things. First, I will need three variables. So one is just a counter. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find. Oh, there we go. Pardon me. So another variable, another counter variable. These counter variables, as you see, I'm using them quite a lot. They are very good to help you with knowing how many records to create and so on. We want, what is it? We want a number, no decimal, 0 as the default value. Then we will create many records at once. We'll use a loop, but without a loop element. I'll show you that. For when you create multiple records, you need two kind of record variables. So again, we click on new resource, variable. So first, it's a single record variable. Okay, so I'm going to call it a single breakdown. Data type is record. The object is leave breakdown. Again, say both. And now we need to create a multiple record variable, which is same. So multi breakdown record. And in order to make it a multiple record variable or a collection, we select this checkbox here. I just find my object, leave breakdown. Okay. So now I need to see if my counter. So pardon me. We need a decision to see how many records I need to create and when I need to stop. So for this, we'll use a decision. We'll say, is the counter equal to the number of days that I need? And here I'll just say equal, and here not equal. So for equal, we just say that my counter variable, so find it, is equal to number of days. So number of days, I'm going to need to create a formula to know how many do I need. Click in value, click on new resource, create a formula. I'll just call it number of days. It needs to do a number, no need for decimals. And here, so I'll just go, it's the number of, it's the end date minus the start date on the leave request. And I'll add one to consider the start date. Okay, so that's going to give me this number of days is also the number of records that I need. Okay. Now, what if it's not equal? What if the counter is not equal to this number of days? Well, then create a record. Create a record until the counter and the number of days are equal. So first, we're going to assign values with an assignment. And the way it works, so I'll call it assign values. We go with the single variable. So I'm going with a single breakdown. And now I can choose every field on the breakdown object. So I'll go with date. And it's going to be another formula, which I will call the breakdown date. Sorry, there we go. So breakdown date, because so remember each record will have it will have a different date. So remember my example when I was having 5 days holidays. Monday would be the date of the first record, Tuesday the date of the second record, and so on. So I want a date, I want to return a date, and this is my formula. I'm just taking the start date of the leave request and I add the number in my counter, the number of days. Because, yeah, okay. Now I have more fields. I've got just a couple more. So single breakdown leave request, because I need this breakdown to be connected, to be related to my leave request. That triggered the flow. Therefore, I'll just go with $record ID. And one last one is the reason, PQR, there we go, which is, no, wrong one. Sorry. I need the $record reason. All right, so this is to create one record. So in order to create multiple record, I need to now tell the system that this single record that's being created here needs to be added to my collection variable that I created earlier on. So I'll call it add to multiple variable, and I go multiple breakdown, multi-var. This is a bit funny here. Multi-var, add, and then my single var. That's all. So literally, I'm saying add this single record into my collection. And I need one last assignment, which, to be perfectly honest, I could have used this second one, but I wanted to show you separately, which I want to update the counter to +1. So I just go with my counter variable, and I add 1. Okay. So now we have this decision, which if the two counts are not equal, then create a record, add it to the collection, and update the counter +1. So for my example, first time it will go counter is 0, therefore it's not equal to the number of days. I need 5. So create a record, assign it to a collection, and I set the record to 1, set the counter to 1. Is 1 equal to 5? No. So basically do it until the counter gets to 5. So I will first connect my two decisions together. What if there was no existing breakdown? Well, go straight here and create the breakdowns. If there were, you deleted them, but now you need to create the new ones. So we go like this. But realistically, this is only your records are only into a multiple record variable. So all you need to do now is to create new records. So we need to create the breakdowns to actually create them. I need to create multiple ones. And then the record collection is my multi-breakdown variable. And this will only happen when my counter is equal to the number of days. And that's it. Now I can save and activate. I'll call it after save leave request. We'll create leave breakdown records. Yeah, and that's it. So now let's do it quickly. Let's create 3 leave. I've actually got them ready. I'm just saving them on another screen. Kathy, you're going to love them because oh, sorry, I'm trying something here. Oh, okay. It has given me an error and I don't know why. That is also typical of a live demo. Let's see if I can see what error it's giving me. Hi everyone. So I found what the issue was with the leave requests. So let me just show you. When I create a new request, see my end date was on top of the start date, so I was inverting the dates. And if you remember in my flow, I've got a formula for a number of days that's when end date minus start date plus 1. So this number was a negative number. And here I've got my decision to know if my counter, where I always add 1, so always a positive number, is equal to this negative number, which would never happen, obviously. So this loop was just would never stop, and therefore I would hit a limit. So let me show you how it would work. So I'm going to write the right dates this time. And so, for example, if I've got a leave from the 15th of December this year to the 1st of February, for example, maternity and paternity leave, I don't really care about the owner. Obviously, the person that requires the time off would be the owner. So I'm going to save this one. And you see now I don't have an error. The records have actually been created. I'm going to create a couple others. So this one, for example, from the 10th to the 20th of December this year for annual leave. So again, this is not causing errors now. And the one that was working was because I was adding a sick leave, pardon me, for 1 day. Therefore, there was no issue there because it was the same day. So let me do sick leave and save. So now the records, the leave breakdowns have been created. As you can see here for 1 day, I've got 1 breakdown created. If I go to the others, this one is quite good. Sorry, the first one, because there's quite a few. If I go to the related records, you can see like all the records are created here and as expected. So they're all related to my leave request. And if I open them, we can see that the date is different. See, this one is for the 15th, this one is for the 16th, and so on. And therefore now I can go to my report, my leave report, and we can see the report with a chart. And here we can see why the people are on leave, so annual leave, maternity, paternity, and sick leave, and how many. So for example, on the 10th, I've got 1 person absent for annual leave. Here I've got 2, 1 for annual leave and 1 for sick leave. So I'm happy to report that the flow was working as expected. It's just me that was being stupid and not entering the dates properly.
We do have certain questions. Uh,
Yeah, of course.
the
Yeah.
first one is from Myril. Why not use a loop element? I suppose when you are not using the
Uh,
loop.
well, here because I did not need a loop, because if I created a loop, I would still need this decision. to know if my counter was equal to the number of records that I needed, I would have needed a loop element and then a decision to go uh, further in the loop or back to the loop. So there was no need.
Okay, the next question is why name the variable op ID instead of record ID?
All right, so record ID. So yeah, there's one time when you really need to call it record ID is if you want to call a screen flow from a button, from a quick action. Then when when you're on the record and you click that quick action, the only way that Salesforce knows you want to trigger from this record is with the um, the variable record ID, all in lowercase except for the I in ID. For any other scenarios, you call it what you want. Here I call it opportunity ID or op ID just to make it more readable.
Perfect. The next question is when record is created, send a bell notification to community user. Now, I have used record trigger flow for this requirement. I am facing issue when I click received bell notification and it should not navigate to page. Is this requirement possible? I mean, you basically have to block the navigation page. Let me
Block the
summarize.
navigation.
Yeah, let me summarize the question for you. So, whenever
Yeah,
record is created, a bell notification is sent to the. So when you click on this like the notification, it should not lead
yeah.
you to any navigation page.
Oof, that is that is more of a community question. I wouldn't know. I mean, obviously, if the notification happens, then your flow is actually working. It's triggering. The fact that you don't want to change page is more of a community functionality here. So I wouldn't know.
It be more like of something related to standard notifications and custom notifications. We do have.
So yeah, it could be as well. I mean, it's definitely not related to the flow. Like your flow is triggering. Um, Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know. I would have to do some research, and this may even need to be coded. I'm just not sure off the top of my head for notifications.
Right. The next question is my requirement is to clone object record along with its related list. How can we achieve this functionality using flows?
Ooh.
That's
Don't you have
tough.
an easy question, Kathy? Don't you have an easy one? Um, yeah. You see, I'm a click no code kind of guy. I genuinely do not know how to code at all. Um, that has to be difficult because you would have to know which objects. I mean, in your, I mean, it is possible, but every time you will
Sorry
need
to
to
interrupt
recreate
you.
the.
But
Go ahead.
there is something related to this that I have only challenge is that while creating that like the same functionality for particular related list records to be created, then I have to use create records element, then
Mhm.
manually assign values, but I am not able to use record collection variable as it will link to old parent record. No option for assigning it to newly created parent record.
So, sorry, hang on. You create a record in the flow.
Yes. No, I am not sure. Ankur, you gotta answer that. Okay, let's do one thing. Eric, there's someone who wants
Yeah.
to speak and ask you the question. Let me give him the
Sure.
access so that it would be more, conveyable.
Mm-hmm.
Gopal, I have given you the access. Check if you can do something. Okay, for this question, he has created the thing in the flow. Yes, he has created the element.
Okay. So, and it's created one or multiple? It's created one, if I remember well. It's creating multiple, and so then the IDs are in your collection. So is he trying?
He is not being able to use this record collection variable, and because it will link to old parent record and not the new one. Ankur, let me.
Because so when you create multiple records, I mean, like here and let's imagine this is a loop. You have your multiple variable where here, like you've got the
Yeah.
assignment where
So,
you assign your multiple variable to your single
Hello.
variables to all your
so
multiple.
we have
Oh,
Ankur with
Hello.
us. So
Yeah, actually, hi, welcome you all. Actually, I've already implemented the same functionality on a specific object like account, and we have a related list like contacts, opportunities, cases
mm-hmm.
with that account. Okay, so when there should be a one button on account. So the moment I click on that button, a new account record would be cloned along with the related list, but all that present on that old account. The only challenge I'm facing is that I have to manually create all the related list, means assigning the values manually. So there we also have option of get records collection variable, but the thing is that I'm not able to link it to new cloned record, means it's automatically assigning to old one. So that's the thing I wanted to know, means is there any possibility or workaround so that I can make it linkable to the new cloned record instead of the old one.
Right. So your cloned record, you're cloning it through a flow, yeah, through a
Yes, yes,
record
right.
triggered flow. So you're creating
Yes.
that new account in a flow. You're creating that one single account through a flow.
Hmm. Yes, right.
Right. So when you got a create record, so
Means
if you
the
go
whole
here,
functionality has already been implemented. It's working perfectly fine. But the only thing is I wanted to know, means instead of suppose there are 50 fields were present on that related list. Okay, so I
yeah,
have to manually assign all those fields. So instead
yeah.
of doing that, we also have option if just record collection variable in a create element.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This one, right? In the screen,
Yes.
I am
So
able to see there is one this use all values. So I'm not able to use that in my requirement.
so do you have? So first you need, as I did here, I have a single record variable and then a multiple record variable. So
Yes,
you
right.
first need to create, with a single variable, you need um, to set all the field values.
That I did, means in a single variable I have put all the values that are coming from the loop, and then I have made one collection variable that will store all the records created. Suppose
Yeah,
there are
yeah,
10. Okay, so
yeah,
now the last step is to create that all the records at one go,
yeah,
in one go. Okay, the only challenge that I have to manually assigning all the records in the assignment variable, means all the values for each record. So instead of that, is it possible to if we can use record collection? Because it the only thing is that it's not linking my new record with the new clone record. It's automatically linked to the old one.
yeah.
So
But
that's
so
the
here with your single variable, you would need to. I mean, obviously, it's not the same object here, but you need to go to your single variable, and then I don't know. Well, like I did here, you need to assign your single variable to this new account record right here because it was one single record that you created. So you can set your single variable to this account record, and then when you create your when you use your collection for the create record, it will automatically be related to this new account.
okay. So we'll check that if that's
Yeah,
the
make
thing.
sure in your first assignment, the assignment where you use the single variable, make sure that you should have your single variable slash account dash account ID equals, and here to be the new account ID that you need here.
Okay, sure. I will check. And there is one
Okay.
more question from my end. That is it possible to schedule our flow on a custom date or anything? Means by the default it's present for weekly, daily, and that uh, at once. So it's
So
possible for that for
okay, so
some, let's say
let's go here.
for every Tuesday or like that. So
For
is there
every
any?
Tuesday. All right. So in this situation, so let's say you want every Tuesday. Unfortunately, you are very limited here, once daily or weekly. So for every Tuesday, you can choose weekly, and then
Okay.
your start date, if it's a Tuesday,
Hmm.
okay, I'll just set a time, then it will just trigger every Tuesday. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's say
Okay.
you want to do it every 2 weeks on a Tuesday,
Hmm. Yes.
then or something special that's not there, you will need to do something like this. So either daily or weekly, and then you will need
Okay.
to create your a variable, a formula variable to, I don't know, like usually I use a boolean just because it's true or false, so it's easy. You would create a boolean formula that would say, well, 2 days is been 2 weeks, or it's a multiple of, basically it's a multiple of 14 for 14 days, and you would use this formula in a decision. So you would say, well, formula equals to true.
Okay.
So
Fine.
unfortunately, yeah, it would trigger every time, but then stop at the decision at that point, unless it was, the second Tuesday, and then it would go further. But yeah, there's no other way at the moment to do that.
Okay. Fine. No issues. Okay. Thanks a
Does that
lot,
make
Eric.
sense?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Eric.
No problem
Hi,
at all.
hi Rick. This is
Hi,
Gopal.
Gopal.
Yeah. So there is actually one requirement that we need to send a custom notification to the community user whenever
Yep.
record is created. So for this requirement, I have built a record trigger flow,
Yep.
and actually there is a one custom object. When that record is created, it should send a bill notification to the user. And
Okay.
when I open that bell notification, basically it will navigate to defined record page, basically, actually. And we can see when we are choosing an action in the flow builder, so it is mandatory to define the target ID and page reference, actually. So the requirement is that we need to block that navigation page. So whenever we click on that notification, bill notification, right, we should not navigate to any other pages. So that is the requirement. So is that possible to block? You should not navigate to any page. Is
So,
it
all right,
clear?
let me just try to understand, just to make sure, I understand first the problem.
Okay.
This notification is
Yeah.
actually not a Salesforce notification. It's a custom object, is it?
Yeah. Correct. Custom object.
Right. Okay. So you're saying when something is created,
Hmm.
then you are creating one notification record. Am I
Hmm.
correct?
We
Right.
will receive a custom notification like you have received some points, like kind of thing we will receive like in a bill notification. Can you go to your homepage, Salesforce homepage? I think I
Of
have.
course.
So you have also received
Or
a
here.
bill notification right there for
Right.
subject. So like this, like in this way, I'm receiving notification. But when I click on that notification, so basically it will navigate to that particular detail page. So the
Hmm.
requirement is that we need to block that navigation page. Is that requirement is possible?
So, okay, let me again, I'll rephrase just to make sure I understand the question here, Gopal. So
Okay.
you got this notification, and
Yes.
basically what you want is that if the customer, like the community user clicks on it, you don't want them to go to the notification.
Means detail page you should not go. Basically what happened, it is navigating to that custom detail record detail page. It is navigating, so I need to block that one, so it should not go anywhere. Only should show like the custom notification, like what we are seeing there, right? New guidelines, central learning resource available.
Okay, so maybe instead of notification, you need to use something else. I don't know. Could you maybe use a rich text element that you would populate through the flow, and then just the rich text element will actually show on your Lightning page, and then so they cannot click. I mean, if, they would see the notification, but they wouldn't actually be able to do anything with it. They wouldn't click on it. I'd say
Even
this is more like a notifications specific issue. Like your flow obviously is triggering, your flow obviously is working because the notification is created.
Gopal, are you using custom notification? Like the action you're using custom notification, right? Over there.
yeah, custom
So
notification I have selected.
as per what I know, Eric, I think when we use custom notification, it will land you to the required page always. Wouldn't it be the case?
Mm,
Because in that way you won't be able to block it. If you want to
Yeah,
yeah.
like
I think you are correct because when I have taken the action in the flow builder, right? So if doesn't define the target area or page reference, it is throwing an error. So it is asking like we have
Mm,
definitely we have to make sure that we have to mention the target area or page reference.
yes,
yeah.
there are certain required fields that you'll have to fill it up in case you want. But as per what I know and my understanding, if you use custom notification, then yes, it would land you to the required page and you won't be able to block that. But yes, this
Mm,
workaround can work, I suppose. That what Eric said, that you can use something related to rich text element and maybe do something with that. But even I'm not sure. Then in that case, I suppose the notification wouldn't pop up. I'm not sure.
yeah. Like here, I think you're trying to go against a standard, standard Salesforce functionality, and unless maybe there's a coding way of doing it that I wouldn't know. I don't see how you can change it. So maybe think of something else beside notifications. As I said, like maybe a rich text element would work, or a screen flow that would show or not show depending on something. That's what I can think of on the fly right now. But otherwise, I can't think of any other way. Sorry, Gopal.
Oh, it's okay, no problem, Eric. Thank you for information.
No, thanks for the question. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I will check on those notifications now. I will learn the whole help and training on notifications from now on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone,
Thank you,
for.
Jackie, for giving this chance.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric, for such a wonderful session. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone,
everyone.
for joining us in.